Am I the a-hole for not inviting my dad and stepmom to my wedding? I, 28 female, am engaged to my fiancé Dave, 28 male. This week, I was going to my hometown and invited him to come with me so he can meet my family. He's met my brothers and my mom, but not my dad and extended family. When I was 16, my dad cheated on my mom with a very well-known escort, then married her. Not only was I going through a tough time dealing with our family being torn apart, but I also had to deal with all the ridicule of having an escort stepmom. People weren't as open with that kind of work back then, and it was hell for me when people found out. Especially since my stepmom was very vocal and confident about her work. I changed schools in my senior year because I couldn't handle everyone making fun of me because of my dad and stepmom. My older brother got suspended once because another kid made a joke about hiring our stepmom for a good time, and they got into a big fight. I stayed with my mom full-time and barely spoke to my dad or stepmom. My dad wanted equal custody of me and my brothers, who were 17 and 14 years old at a time, but none of us wanted to live with him and his wife, and he couldn't really force us to split our time for him. He also gave up making an effort to see us at all when we said we don't want to live with him half the time, so we barely saw him. When I finished high school, I left our hometown and moved to a big city for college. My brothers also moved there, and our mom would come visit us all the time, so I didn't bother go back to our hometown. Dad didn't offer to come see us, and none of us have been back home, so this week was the first time I've seen my dad in about 10 years. My auntie was hosting a dinner party so everyone can meet my fiancé, and of course, my dad and stepmom were there. I was polite to them, but it was awkward, and my fiancé was doing all the talking. Stepmom asked us when and where the wedding is, and my fiancé told her it's on the 2nd of December. She said, "Wow, and you still haven't sent our invites?" My fiancé just kind of looked at me awkwardly, and I answered, "We have sent out invites, but our guest list is limited and we're only inviting our closest friends and family, so I couldn't make space for you and Dad. Sorry." She just smiled and said she understood we aren't inviting anyone we aren't super close to. We'll be having 30 guests in total. The next day, my dad comes to visit my fiancé and I at our Airbnb, and he asks me why him and his wife aren't invited to our wedding. He said I'm his only daughter, and he'll feel like a failure if he can't even walk me down the aisle. I said, it makes me sad that my dad won't walk me down the aisle either, but I'm not going to make a fuss about that tradition when we have barely spoken since I was 16. We don't have a father-daughter relationship, and I'm not going to pretend like we do just for my wedding. He started crying and asked how long I plan to punish him for what happened between him and my mom. He said it feels like he lost his children 12 years ago when he divorced my mom, and now I'm putting the final nail in the coffin. I told him I don't hold resentment over his divorce with mom and everything he did, but the fact of the matter is that we aren't close anymore. And I'm not interested in faking it. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your dad is feeling like a failure because he is a failure of a dad. The audacity of people. I can't believe he broke up your family like that, hooking up with an escort, and expect you to have him walk you down the aisle like some kind of upstanding father. Ridiculous. 100%. Even if you overlook the cheating, breaking the family apart, and all the bullying endured, he stopped trying to make amends. It was on him to come to his children, but it probably just became easier on his pride to give up. OP, not the a-hole. I hope your mom is doing well. Your siblings too. You're going to have an amazing wedding. Call me traditional, but I've never understood why people who don't value wedding vows should be invited to weddings in the first place. Not the a-hole. Honestly, even the stepmom had a lot more grace about it. Not the a-hole. And at this point, the only a-hole is the dad. Even his mistress has more class than him. And that's the thing. At the very least, in the presence of everyone, she held it together. It's completely acceptable to be upset about things in your own private time, as another to make a scene in front of people. Sound like stepmom has accepted this. You handled it perfectly, honestly. There is a vast spectrum between resentment and healthy relationship. And your dad doesn't get to guilt you into a relationship that doesn't exist. Don't let the consequences that is now fully realizing wait on you at all. Not the a-hole. OP, it is important to have the wedding both you and your fiancé want. You haven't asked Dad for any money for the wedding and didn't even invite him, so he has no say. As for his hurt feelings, it seems he has had illusions of walking you down the aisle and has only now realized that this is not gonna happen. It is a hard truth, but a choice made a long time ago. I hope you have a wonderful wedding and a very happy marriage. I wish you all the very best, OP. Congratulations. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she didn't come to my graduation? So a bit of background. My sister and I have always had a competitive relationship. 2 years ago, when I graduated from a master's program, she didn't attend because she was on a retreat with her then fiancé. It was a big deal for me because I was the first in our family to get a graduate degree, and I really wanted her to be there. I felt hurt, and we had a big argument about it where she said my graduation was just another ceremony and that I was being overly sensitive. Fast forward to now, she's getting married. The problem is, she chose a destination wedding on this very exclusive island, and the cost of attendance is way beyond what I can comfortably afford. I'm talking about several $1,000s for the weekend. When I told her I might not be able to come, she freaked out and said I was trying to sabotage her special day. I'm also a bit tight on money because I've been saving up to buy a house. I tried explaining this to her, but she said that I'm being selfish and that I should take out a loan if I have to because it is her once-in-a-lifetime moment. I haven't given her a definitive answer yet, but I'm leaning towards not going. My parents are saying that I should just suck it up and go to keep the peace, but I don't see why I should go into debt for a wedding when she couldn't even drive across town for my graduation. So am I the a-hole for not wanting to go to my sister's wedding? Not the a-hole. Never go in debt for someone else, especially a destination wedding. I'm sorry, I can't afford that and won't be attending. Rinse and repeat. Why should you have to keep the peace? It's not your destination wedding. If anything, your parents want the peace kept. Then they can pay you to attend as a gift. You're not selfish. Your sister is just entitled. Don't feel bad. After all, it's just another ceremony. The words destination wedding changed my answer instantly as soon as I read them. Forget the graduation. If you have to pay to attend someone's wedding, then there's no stipulation you have to go, no matter the relation. If you want a destination wedding, then you eat that some people won't be there who otherwise would have been. If there is someone specific that must be there, then you need to be prepared to foot the bill to get them there yourself. If you can't afford that, then you can't afford your destination wedding. Not the a-hole. If you're not going to her wedding ruins her entire wedding, then she's clearly got bigger issues to work out. Or she should have planned with you in mind if it's that important. Not just OP, I'd wager there's a few family members that would have difficulty affording to go, especially these days. Not the a-hole. Never keep the peace. It is a phrase used when you are right, but those who use it are unwilling to call out the real a-hole, your sister. Don't put yourself in debt or use savings for a vanity wedding. Because that's all it is, her ego-stroking destination wedding. If she needs you there, let her pay for you. But seriously, don't go. Your reasons are 100% valid. I hate this phrase with every fiber of my being. It's used to bully people into tolerating crappy behavior, and it serves only to encourage a-holes to keep being a-holes. I refuse to keep the peace with someone who treats me badly. I will call them on it, or simply cut contact. The others I hate, be the bigger person and but family. Next story. Am I the a-hole for showing my mom the letter my sister wrote to me before she died? I, 16 male, lost my sister Birdie last year. Birdie was 20 when she died. She had been diagnosed with cancer a year before her death. She knew she was dying, so she made a will for the very few things she had. It was mostly sentimental childhood stuff she had. Old stuffies, and she had a necklace that our dad bought her. Stuff like that. It wasn't a lot, but she left it all to me. She also wrote a letter to me before she died. But anyway, I was the only person who got anything from Birdie. She left our paternal grandparents in charge of everything until I'm 18, or until I'm out of my mom's house. The problem with this is Mom has other kids. Birdie and I lost our dad when we were both kids. Mom remarried. Neither of us really cared much for my mom's husband, and when Mom had more kids, we didn't feel the same about them as we did each other. Birdie was more vocal when I didn't say anything. Mostly I didn't want to fight with Mom over it, and I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But Birdie and Mom never really got along, and it was only worse after Dad died and then Mom remarried. The fact Birdie left nothing for our half-siblings and never even wrote them a goodbye letter bothers Mom, and it really upset them because they wanted to know why she wrote to me and left me her stuff, but not them. They wanted to read my letter, but I said no. It became a fight with Mom then, and she wanted to know why Birdie left the rest of the family nothing, and why even when she knew she was dying, she couldn't find a way to embrace the other kids enough to give them something. A small goodbye. I showed Mom the letter because Birdie wrote a lot about her feelings and mentioned things she and I talked about when Mom wasn't around. I knew the letter would be a lot. Birdie said clearly that she never loved or cared about the other kids at all and wanted me to know that she didn't want them to have anything. But if I felt differently, if I ended up loving them one day and wanted to give them something of hers, that she wouldn't be mad. Mom read the whole thing twice, if not 3 times, and then she asked me why I had shown her the letter and what did I want to do with her. She was so mad she was shaking, and she told me I was never to show my half-siblings, and I pointed out that I had said no to them reading it already. Nothing else was said that day, but then Mom told me I was cruel for rubbing my sister's words in her face, and she wanted me to know she might never be able to forgive me for it. She told me forgiveness would be off the table if I ever breathed a word of it to her other kids. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. She asked and didn't like the answer. That answer was not yours. It was Birdie's and in her own words. I'm sure it stung like hell, but she asked. It is not right or fair for her to be mad at you for giving her what she wanted. Birdie has the right to do with her stuff what she wanted. It would be best not to ever show the letter to the others unless they push you into it. My guess would be that they're going to at some point. Be jealous if there is any real money waiting for you and not them. If you don't have to hurt them, then don't if possible. Hide that letter very well and take a picture of it and email it to yourself for safekeeping. Good luck. No real money. It was just sentimental stuff that she kept. But what little money she did have, I also get. I would definitely get copies and put the original letter somewhere safe until you can move into your own places in a few years. Yes, I have a feeling she might try to destroy the letter. Last story. Am I the a-hole for putting pressure on my sister after she found out her husband got another woman pregnant? My sister has been married for 10 years, and she has 3 children with her husband. She found out 2 weeks ago that her husband cheated on her at least a dozen times and got the other woman pregnant. This is, of course, has been the most awful thing for my sister, and I have been supporting and comforting her ever since she learned what happened. My sister has spoken like she's heavily leaning towards staying with her husband so their kids' lives don't get turned upside down. She has said that she could not be around a child though, and would never accept them. I understand her feelings are all over the place and that she's still raw with all of this. But when she talked about staying and mentioned her feelings for the child, I felt like I needed to step in, and this is where I might be the a-hole. So there is some background as to why I feel so strongly. Our dad was the result of an affair. He was not American, and his country of birth did not give divorce as an option. So his father's wife stayed, and he ended up with custody of Dad. Dad was made to suffer for his birth, and it was something that really weighed on Dad for the rest of his life. He said he was born hated, and he knew he would die hated if his half-siblings were still alive in his country of birth. His childhood was miserable, and there were times he wondered how he survived his childhood. It was rough, and he moved to America young to start anew and have a better life. We were told about this a few times, and I always think of Dad and the pain he carried because of his childhood. So I truly feel divorce is better, and especially when it's so easily available here, versus what Dad went through and what his father's wife went through with no options to leave. This is why I told my sister she shouldn't stay just to keep her kids' lives from turning upside down. I pointed out that it was not healthy for anyone, told her to think of Dad. She told me I shouldn't be putting pressure on her right now. That she knows what Dad went through, but this is her kids' lives. It's her life. She told me I wasn't helping anymore and that's what she needed. Help via me listening to her and shutting up about leaving. Then she told me I freaking sucked right now, and I should be more worried about her than anyone. Am I the a-hole? The real a-hole here is her sister's husband, who not only cheated on her, but also didn't even have the decency to use protection while doing so. Would he have ever told your sister about his affair if his mistress hadn't gotten pregnant? My guess is no, given how long the affair had already been going on. The real advice her sister needs is to get tested for STD or STIs. No a-holes here except her sister's husband. Apologize to her and just listen until she has had the time to start to process things. She's right, it has been only 2 weeks. Also, your sister is really traumatized and needs to make a lot of decisions and get used to a new reality. She needs to get through her many emotions, and it's okay to let her be mad at you until she can find it safe to be mad at her rotten husband. She's going to have a long period of adjustment, so be patient with her and with yourself, and encourage her to express herself. I know that you are very much not the a-hole. Much love and care to you both. This literal exact thing happened to me last year. I found out in July. I am just now fully adjusted to my new life, and still processing my emotions/feelings. This advice is spot on. She has a lot to get through. My heart hurts for OP's sister. It is an awful traumatic thing that happened to her. I filed for divorce a little less than 2 months ago. I just wanted to put it out there. OP's sister could take a while to get through this. Your sister's kids' lives are already being turned upside down. Kids know when things aren't right with their parents, and forcing a happy family onto a serial cheater with a baby mama is not going to work at all. The kids will suffer less if she leaves him and finds someone who will be a true partner and treat her with respect. She is in denial and seems to think she can just will this away. She cannot. Her husband will keep cheating and she will stay miserable. And her kids will know about it and it will influence their future relationships for the rest of their lives. I get that she feels she needs support from you and not a lecture on things she already knows. But she's got big decisions to make, and quickly. Not the a-hole, but maybe apologize to soften the blow, as you don't want her to distance herself. But at the same time, it doesn't sound at all to me like she's really thinking of her kids yet.